So Robert Jordan is back. I'm about 200 pages into Knife of Dreams, and I've actually managed to keep a hold of a bookmark for once, which is really exciting. And I honestly think more has happened in this 200 pages than happened in the entirety of the last book. So we open up with the White Cloaks, and Galad comes back into the storyline, and essentially he does trial by combat against the leader of the White Cloaks for what he thinks the leader of the White Cloaks did, which was kill his mother, Morghese. And that battle between them is definitely the best one-on-one combat scene without the power in the entirety of the series. Not only do we get deep description of the battle and what goes through the heads of both of the combatants, but we also receive some of the coolest names for moves that I've ever read in any fantasy. I can't remember any of them off the top of my head. I probably should have written them down, but we get things like wading through the wallows and swallow dives, kingfisher roars, prancing pony. None of those were the names of the things in the book. They were much cooler, but you get the idea. And the battle reminded me a lot of the battle between Kyla Stern and I think it's Lantanu Garawashi in one of Brent Week's Night Angel Trilogy books. I know I talk about these books all the time, but they've clearly taken so much inspiration from Wheel of Time, as I'm sure a ton of fantasy books have. So with that storyline, I do think that Galad is going to take control of the White Cloaks, and that would be amazing. Not only because I predicted this a long time ago, but it's going to be useful. Like, I don't see anyone else who could strap the White Cloaks to our claws, to our cause, to the final battle, as well as Galad can. However, I do predict there will be a controversy. Now, it's been built up and built up and built up that Galad always does the right thing to a fault. And I just feel like there's so much foreshadowing for that we haven't had like a big payoff where he does something that's like completely illogical, but to him seems like the right thing. So my prediction is something strange will still happen with Galad, probably to the detriment of one of our other main characters. Then we move into the Seanchan and we get some huge revelations. So first of all, Suroth is a dark friend. And then next we get some huge information. So apparently everybody's dead. So everybody who was coming across the Great Return is dead, including the Empress. And what this would mean is that Tuon, daughter of the Nine Moons, is now the Empress of all of the Seanchan. The problem is I'm not really buying it. It just seems way too convenient, and it's also a little bit disappointing. Like, I was really excited to meet the Empress. I was really excited to see just how badass she was, and then also to see the rest of the Seanchan on their journey across and to see the impact they would have on Randland and the world that we know. However, if it were true, which I don't think it is, it would move the story along nicely, because it would mean that Tuon is completely free and set up to then become the Empress of the Seanchan. And what that would then mean is that the Seanchan will be strapped to Mat because they're going to be married, and then the Seanchan is strapped to the same cause as us, and we can go to the last battle with them, which should be really useful. And the Seanchan pop up a lot in the first 200 pages of this book. We have a meeting between Perrin and a lot of the Seanchan as he's trying to form an alliance between them to attack the Shaido and save Fail. And a cool piece of Seanchan prophecy comes out. So I believe it's when the wolf carries the hammer and the raven marries the fox, then the final battle will be upon us. And obviously they're talking about Mat and Perrin. And we also get something that was kind of flamboyant and something that Jordan, I feel like, doesn't normally do. And he's done it twice in this introduction. So first of all, we had Galad with his embellished battle against the leader of the White Cloaks, and then he has Perrin holding up that log, and then the two rivers with their bowmanship shooting two arrows into that log from really far away. And it was just two examples of classic fantasy and battles and all that embellishment and flamboyantness that I absolutely love, that Jordan doesn't normally go in for. So I've really enjoyed those. So it does look like the Seanchan are going to help out. It looks like there's going to be a poisoning of the wise ones who can channel, which I would assume is Forkroot. And what that means is that they're going to go in, do a smash and grab and try and rescue Fail, but more on that in a minute. The Seanchan also arrive at the circus. So Tuon is there, Mat is there, and the Seanchan have just arrived as well. One thing I'm really looking forward to is Tuon finding out that the Empress is dead, and then also just seeing how formidable and Empress-like she can be once she takes charge of the Seanchan. And I think there's going to be a definite power struggle. So the power struggle is going to be between Tuon and Suroth. and Suroth is obviously subservient to one of the Forsaken or one of the Chosen. So that's going to be the big battle for control of the Seanchan, and most likely what's going to happen is Suroth is going to try and not share the information that the Empress is dead and kill Tuon off for like, what's it called, for being a traitor essentially, and then once Tuon's dead, reveal actually no, the Empress is dead, I'll be the Empress, you know. So it's going to be interesting to see them two lock heads. And one thing I'm really excited about, lock horns I think is the saying, sorry, one thing I'm really excited about is Tuon taking over the Death Watch guards. Now, it's said that those Death Watch guards are really impressive fighters, so I'd love to see them in action. And also the Ogiers in action as well, the warrior ones who've come over. Like, that's a whole new dynamic to Ogiers that we really haven't seen. And I mean, overall, with regards to predictions, I can see like a vision pretty clearly of what the final battle is going to look like based on the information we have so far. And we're going to have our guys, our heroes, turn up to the final battle, if they all make it. And Rand will be leading, well, everybody, but mainly the Aiel. That's going to be his, you know, main faction that he's in charge of. And then we're also going to have Galad in charge of the White Cloaks. We're going to have Perrin in charge of the Two Rivers people, but also anyone he seems to run into. Matt and Tuon in charge of the Seanchan and the Red Band. And we're also going to have Nynaeve, who would be in charge of the Kin. We'll have Elaine, who will be in charge of Andor and everybody involved in that. And then we'll also have our other main character, Egwene, who hopefully by that point will be leading all of the Aes Sedai. And that is what it's set up right now, from my perspective, to look like at the final battle. So hopefully we're just like winding towards that now. However, obviously there are huge obstacles in between every single one of them, and having full control and loyalty from that faction. So I assume that's what the next couple of books are going to be covering. Then we swap over to the White Tower. Egwene has been captured, and initially I thought that was really bad, but now it's set up for such a fun storyline. So we have a few things happening in there. We have Alvarin, who has to discover those who are hunting down the Black Aja, because otherwise she will not have the protection against Messana anymore. We still don't know who Messana is. Well, I still don't know who Messana is. I'm sure other people managed to figure it out by this point. But the most exciting thing is that they're leaving Egwene in the tower, and what Aleda's trying to do is trying to break her spirit and break her will. But what is abundantly clear is that the tower is completely split into different factions. Not only do any of the Ajas not trust each other, nobody seems to like Aleda, and then also on top of that, you have like multiple other groups. You have the Black Aja in there, you have those who've been sent to hunt by Aleda for the Black Aja, and then also the rebel group in there as well. So, and then Nicola, and it just seems completely set up for Egwene to take advantage of this. Now, how she does it, I don't know exactly. I would guess that Nicola definitely helps her out. And then I also think that her prediction about the Seanchan will come true, the Seanchan attacking the White Tower, and that will be like the final straw where the sisters finally see, you know, we've strayed so far away from what we said we would be. We were going to be united as women, as channelers, as rulers, for the good of the world, and like they just need a big thing and setback and occurrence to happen for them to finally take a step back and think, wow, look how far we've come from what we were, and to realize that Egwene is the right person to lead them. But obviously there's a lot between that happening and where we're at now, but I'm just really excited for that storyline. Initially I wasn't. I thought it was going to be the longest standoff ever, but Egwene just being captured and put into the tower just forces the storyline along, and I'm here for it. It's going to be awesome. And then we have the mess that is the Shaido and their whole camp, with Fael, Morghese and a few other characters captured there. So Galena's aims are clear. She wants to get the rod, undo her oath, kill Fael, kill Morghese, and disappear. But I don't think that's going to happen, because Fael has now found the rod. So with this big discovery, there's a few things that could go down, in my humble opinion. Number one, it's hidden. And Galena now knows that it is missing, and so does Thorava, who is like maybe one of the most evil people in the entire story, by the way. So I think that Galena knowing that Fael has it will essentially mean that she has to cut a deal with Fael where she can't kill her, hopefully. But to throw another spanner inside of the works that are completely clogged with spanners at this point, we have a ton of problems with this camp. Number one, the discipline is low, the morale is low, a lot of people are thinking of leaving, and Savannah is on a time limit. So it looks like Savannah is about to be ousted as the leader, essentially, because she's not really the leader. She was just speaking for I think it was Couladin who died, who was the leader. And finally the wise ones have had enough of that, and they said, no, we're sending someone to Ruidin. When they return, then they're going to be the leader. You're going to be gone. So Savannah's on a time limit, and I could really see her working together with Galena and maybe even Fail to try and hang on to this power. And what I could see happening is, I was trying to think, when would Savannah have an opportunity to take out everybody who's in her way, which is right now the wise ones. Perrin and the Seanchan are planning on giving Fork Root to everybody who can channel, or probably just everybody. And what that means is Savannah can't channel, meaning that she probably will be unaffected. And I just think she's an opportunist. Like I said in my last video or the video before, Pattern Fane has been my favorite wild card and evil character for most of this series. However, Savannah is slowly taking him over, and maybe has, because she's just tenacious. She has no real powers or abilities, and she just finds a way to get things done with sheer willpower, and really just quite a lot of cold-bloodedness as well. So I just don't see her not getting out of that camp and getting closer to Rand somehow. So my prediction is like some amalgamation of everybody gets poisoned except for Savannah. She discovers something to do with the rod. Galena, Fail, and Morghese all escape together, but not with Perrin. I don't know how that will come to pass, because it's complicated. There's a lot of moving points, but if I had to guess, that's what my gut's going towards. And then we move to the Forsaken. I love these chapters where the Forsaken get together. And there's only like 6 or 7 of them now. And Moradin is obviously running everything. He has, who does he have? Morgideon and Sindane, who I'm not quite sure who she is yet, but like completely strapped to him. They can't do anything about it. And then the others have kind of accepted that he's going to be Nay Bliss for now. But it's clear that Arangar, who is the male, it's a female now, but was a male and has the male power and is doing the murders inside of what was Egwin's traitors camp. Man, it's complicated now with all these storylines. Arangar is certain that they're going to defeat Moradin somehow and take the control over Morgideon and Sindane. So I don't know how they're going to do it, but I'm really interested in that storyline. And it would seem that Arangar and Masana are kind of at odds with each other, and I could even see them battling it out somehow in that White Tower storyline, because yeah, they just did, although they're literally on opposite sides, one's in the White Tower and one's in the Traitors camp, they really should be working together, but it just doesn't seem like it. So I think one will, maybe they won't battle each other, but one will let the other die or sell the other one out maybe. And in that meeting it said that everyone should leave Rand alone and focus on Perrin and Mat. And if a female is sent after Mat, he actually has a decent shot because of his Foxhead medallion and his luck. Like those are two skills, well, one's a skill and then one's an object, that are just awesome. Like they're so effective, because like how do you plan to beat someone where it's like, okay, well I can't use my magic, and then they just have this ridiculous slice of luck? It's like, how do you plan against that? It's almost impossible to plan against that. So I think Mat will be okay. Perrin, on the other hand, his skills are awesome, like with the wolves, that's amazing, and being Tavaren anyway and being able to strap people to him. But the problem is they're not very tangible in a one-on-one battle with somebody who can do magic, so I would definitely be worried for Perrin. And then we have a couple of miscellaneous things. One is extremely interesting. So we've seen more ghosts, for want of a better word, people like popping in and out, that scares everybody. But also, when Fail is talking to one of the wise ones, it says she feels like she became like transparent, or she was fading away on 3 different occasions, all back to back to back. And what went through my head is, okay, well, what is there 3 things of that would cause like a worldwide problem? And the first thing I thought of was, I think, if I'm not mistaken, there's 3 seals left for the Dark One. And I think they're all together. So if somebody had found them and then managed to destroy them, maybe it would cause that kind of effect where like the pattern's tearing open and the Dark One's coming in, or something like that. That was the only thing that sprung to mind. But I may be wrong, because when the other seals were broken, as far as we know, there wasn't any occurrence like that. But maybe all 3 of them being together, and the fact that it's like the last 3, or maybe there's 4 left, you know, it really weakened the Dark One's prison. Only problem with that is that I just don't think he's going to be released this early. I can't imagine the Dark One like roaming around for 3.5 books. Like, he just seems so powerful that you either beat him really quickly, or like there's no beating him, because he seems like he'll just take over everything really fast. But that was the idea that popped to mind, so I'm sticking with it. And then finally, another prediction that I kind of nailed. So I predicted that Noel could possibly be Jain Farstrider. And he says, no, I'm his cousin. But I think it's pretty clear by the way he explains it that he's lying and he is Jain Farstrider. And I might be wrong, but he just seemed like somebody who was ashamed of what he did. So he said, no, I'm his cousin. So that would explain why he knows so much about him and knows about his storyline, etc. But there is some interesting things in that passage as well. He kind of glazes over and says that Jain Farstrider was made a tool by, and then ... So I had some ideas like, well, who could Jain Farstrider be made a tool by? So I was thinking, well, maybe the Dark One, but probably not. Maybe a Forsaken, but again, probably not. And then the last thing that popped to mind was, it seemed that Noel was unable to remember what happened to him. And where we've seen that before is with the Aelfin and the Eelfin. So maybe he became like a slave to the Aelfin and the Eelfin, because he did pop up in the storyline like right when he was kind of needed, like in Ebu Dar, and then has helped Matt with Tuon and just been like really useful for the duration. And it seems like maybe he was thrust out there to help with the pattern by the Aelfin and the Eelfin, and that would make him a tool, and also they would have the capabilities to remove his memory. And again, I don't really know how the Aelfin and Eelfin do what they do, but it's become quite apparent that they are definitely pulling strings in the pattern. So there you have it, another wild guess. Hopefully I'm close to the truth. So my question for you before I go is, can you think of a battle one-on-one before 200 pages in of this version of Knife of Dreams in the entire series that is better than the one between Galad and the leader of the White Cloaks? Because I can't. I thought it was absolutely beautiful, but you tell me, maybe I'm forgetting one. Outside of that, hopefully you've enjoyed this. Please like, subscribe, and hit notifications, and have an amazing day.